I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Can we do the roll call, Sherry?
Mayor Nicholson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Saber. Councilmember Durst. Here. Espinoza.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
Smith. Here. Wells.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. We'll start out with the public hearing ordinance, second reading of amendment of Rollins Municipal Code, Chapter 1, penalties for violations, C, incarceration. come up and speak.
Thank you. Mayor Nicholson, members of the town council, I'm Ashley Mayfield Davis. I'm the Hardin County attorney, and I was able, prior to today's meeting, to submit some correspondence to the town council. It also went to Mr. Zebold, and that was directed really at the city attorney and also at the chief of police. The proposed ordinance is very concerning to me. Removing the jail time, and I understand there are certain things that are within your decision, absolutely within the purview of what you think is appropriate and necessary for the city's resources. But there are some legal complications with that suggestion. And specifically on the DUI charge, there is a process that has to be followed that requires arrest of an individual for a controlled substance test to come in. That law is called implied consent. So by removing incarceration as an option, you in theory should not be arresting individuals, or officers should not be, and then you're going to have a very difficult time proving that offense in court. The reason that matters to the state is, or to the county attorney's office, I should say, is that then those cases in theory would likely end up in the circuit court and with the Carbon County Attorney's Office. And we do not have the resources to do every municipal offense for the city of Rollins or the other 9 entities that are located around Carbon County. We have a limited amount of resources, the circuit court does too, a limited amount of time. And so we really have to evaluate each case and see which ones desire or need that expenditure of resources. So historically, the county attorney's office has not taken first offense DUIs from the city. I want to say in about 2015 or 16, the city attorney reached out and asked if we would handle those that involved controlled substance offenses. If you don't know, the city of Rollins does have 2 or 3 DRBs, which are drug recognition experts on staff. Those officers specifically look for drug impairment. So the city attorney reached out, asked if we could take those cases because those first offense DUIs require additional testing. And the county attorney's office said, we'll take them, we'll pay. The city said we can't pay. So we took those cases on. But in looking historically at the data, in 2014, there were 62 DUIs through municipal court. And by July of 2020, there had been 14 DUIs. In 2019, there were 15 DUIs. So they seem to have been, they have transferred somewhere else. And I believe that is likely circuit court. And so the big concern from my office is not having the capacity to do all of the cases that are going to come our way. So I have developed a policy and I provided that to law enforcement, to the city attorney's office to understand we can't take first DUIs. We can't take the charges that have similar ordinances, city ordinances. We will absolutely take an interference with a peace officer that is a felony level offense where there is an injury to an officer. We have some of those pending right now, but we have to evaluate our resources and use them where we can on the most serious offenses. The other thing that happens with a first offense DUI is there is not a mandatory jail time. That's one of the reasons the city has historically done those. On a second offense, there's a mandatory minimum of 7 days in jail. And for a third offense, there's a mandatory minimum of 30 days in jail. So we have taken those so that the city's not paying for that individual. One of the differences that I just talked about in my correspondence is the idea that the circuit court is not a court of revenue. We do our jobs and that money thankfully goes to the school district. But it doesn't supplement the county's budget. It doesn't help cover those costs that the county expends on prosecution. And the municipal court is different because that money does come. So if there is a fine imposed on someone and you pay that fine, it comes to your budget to help pay for those costs, whether it's the police department, municipal judge's job, or the members of the staff for the court. And so those things certainly should be a factor in any decisions that this town council makes. The other thing that happens specifically with DUIs is they are very complicated. They are not easy cases. There are defense attorneys that file a stack of motions that's this thick, so you have to respond to them, and that takes a lot of time, especially if it's a new motion. to research. We've had a good relationship with the city attorney's office of sharing motions so that we're not reinventing the wheel, but it still takes usually about double the time out of court as it does in court. And so if there's a motion hearing that takes 2 hours, you have to watch the video of the entire stop. If you don't know your police officers, usually spend 3 hours on those kinds of cases. And having that first conviction is what makes you eligible to have a second conviction or a third conviction if someone doesn't stop that behavior. And so those cases are really time intensive. 16 may not seem like a lot, but if it's 16 additional not guilty pleas, it can be weeks and weeks of work for the county attorney's office. And I appreciate that the city you have a hard job of allocating your own resources. And I understand that the city needs to pay your employees. There's a lot of expensive costs with incarceration, costs of prosecution, to pay for a judge, but it's your responsibility and duty to protect the members of the city of Rollins, your constituents. The county has the same responsibility, but when there's limited time and limited resources, we have to weigh whether they are best used for. So that is my general, the reason I wanted to come and talk on this ordinance. I think there are some concerns, and I did send a decision letter because the ordinance also proposes not requiring a valid waiver or a specific waiver of the right to jury trial. But I did forward that decision from our district court on to City Attorney Bach so that she could review it and then she can give you any legal advice that she thinks is appropriate. I do want to make sure it's very clear to you. Law enforcement works really hard, and I have great respect for what the City of Rollins Police Department, for the things they do, for their chief, for everyone in that department. But I also appreciate a spirit of communication. So being told this is what's being considered and this is why, or how can we work together to accomplish this and achieve these goals? And I think the main goal should be keeping their job as easy as possible. Because they don't need to be out doing their job, doing a stop, dealing with the individual, and worrying about, where do I need to file this charge? Or should I arrest this person so the county pays for it versus should the city be paying for it? Those kinds of things. I think that should be not even a factor in their mind. And the conduct that we're talking about is the same generally for most of these ordinances, whether it's a city ordinance or a state statute. And so why is arrest appropriate for one and not needed for the other? Because the issue is conduct. The penalty, what happens after a conviction, is up to the judge. It's not up to the officer. It's really not up to the attorneys that are involved. It's up to the judge. That's their decision, and that's within their discretion. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I do believe that the commissioners would like and welcome trying to create a communication board to work with the city. Whether that's, I think the proposal might be a couple members of commissioners, a couple members of town council, maybe some of the department heads, to get involved to try to work together on some of the issues that are coming up, because it's really important to be good neighbors and to work together and make each other's jobs easier, not harder.
Okay. Let's hold the questions, Linda, until we get down to actually make a motion, because this is just a public hearing portion. Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on that in the public hearing portion? Okay, we'll move on down to citizens participation. And this is the time that anybody has the right to come up and speak for 5 minutes on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. Go ahead. Yeah, come up to the podium. State your name, and I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but just in case.
My name is Gregory Johnson. I've lived in the community for 35 years. Many of you know me, and I work up at the hospital. I'm the director of the emergency department up there, chief of staff. I'm coming here not on that behalf, or not as a medical expert, but I want to express concern in regard to the new telecommunications tower. I live adjacent to the property. So I do have a vested interest in that being in my backyard, essentially overhanging my driveway. But the other side of my vested interest is wanting the best communications for the fire department. I work with emergency medical response, obviously, and we want the best communications. The initial proposal was back in 2017. So I don't perceive this as being something that's absolutely urgent that needs to be settled within the next couple of weeks or a month. And I would ask to have some time to put together some information about that. The city obviously has a vested interest. They want to have the best telecommunications for the city and the fire department. And obviously they're going to get some revenue in this process. The fire department, they're going to benefit from the standpoint of being better telecommunications. But I'm not sure if anybody has addressed that there are fire departments across the country, fire department unions that have sued against telecommunications base units on the property. This is not just a small change in an antenna. This is a whole telecommunications cell base unit. And everybody focuses on, is it going to cause cancer? Well, there's not good evidence, and I need to research things further about that. But they've sued to have those not on their properties due to other neuropsychological issues for firefighters. So I think that should be taken into consideration. It's not something that I will live next door to. It's within about 10 yards of my house. And for these kind of base units, the best recommendation that I found is that it shouldn't be within 500 meters of schools, hospitals, or residences. So that's pretty close. And not worried about cancer, but other medical effects that are potential. And I think that should be reviewed and looked into, even though I'm not saying that anything was illegal in the application of this. I think it was very misleading, the information that they sent around. They did send for public comment within 300 feet of this, but this tower is, 80 feet tall, 4 foot wide, with an additional 20 feet, it goes up to 99 feet. My house, it's a nice house from street level is about 20 feet. So this is 5 times the height of my house. And basically right over my driveway. So if there's any ice buildup, if there's snow buildup, if that lets loose from that height, I think that would be an issue. So anyways, there's lots of vested issues in this. And I think before going forward, I would like the opportunity to talk to City Council or to have it reviewed, maybe have some diagrams up to scale. I have all the information that they sent around initially that was difficult to read, not to scale, and I think it was very, very misleading. Putting up a 100-foot tower, 4 foot wide, within 10 yards or so of a residence and the surrounding homes. Well, you have to do the same kind of thing if you want to have a 2-foot extension on a deck that's too close to your property line. So I would think that something of this magnitude warrants a little bit more input than extending a deck. So it surprises me when I saw that this was going forward in the last newspaper. I was very surprised because it was 2017 when the initial things were passed around, or sent around, and there was nothing since that time basically. Now, you might have had discussions, and I haven't reviewed all of the city council notes, but doing a search for Verizon on city council, it was not something that seemed to be an active thing on the agenda. So, those are my comments. I'd like the opportunity to I did talk to the city council members in my ward by phone last week. So I'm not sure if they are listening, but I'd like the opportunity to talk to the city council more, compile more information. I think the city, even though people will say that I might be presenting fake news because of a vested interest, that's not the case. If I have to move, I have to move. I'm not going to leave Rollins, but I can't live near a base station like that. But the only one that unilaterally benefits from this is Verizon, and I think that they're utilizing a loophole through the FCC that targeted police stations and fire departments to streamline their ability to submit proposals. I don't know how I can get on to have discussion further, but somebody will let me know.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get with staff and legal and have some discussions, and then we can get back in touch with you.
Okay.
If I can ask him a question.
Sure.
I want to ask you a question. I understand your concerns. We worked on this for a long time.
Mhm.
And why did you wait till we complete the project to come up before us instead of coming to us when we were discussing it, when they petitioned the neighborhood?
When they petitioned the neighborhood, I submitted my response at that point. I still have that. They have that on file.
I understand that.
So I was,
Mhm.
and I was in disagreement. I expressed my concerns. Nobody contacted me to ask me about my concerns further. And I hadn't heard anything more about it. And I didn't necessarily follow all of the minutes for city council for the last 3 years. I admit that. But I did respond initially in the way that was asked of me.
And you probably did, I'm not questioning any of that, and I don't want to be argumentative, all I was saying was, you received this petition telling you what they were gonna do.
Mhm.
It seemed like you, just like you did today, you came in, got on the agenda
Mhm.
to speak your piece. You could have done it back then, and then we would have had some advanced information
Yes.
as to.
Yes, I could have.
Yeah, and that
But
would
it's
have
just-
helped a lot.
Okay, if somebody is given, if somebody's asking for a variance on their property, and they're asking for a 2-foot variance for a deck, and they come around and get signatures, I'm not sure if all of those people after the fact call back up and ask what the outcome is at, or if they're supposed to show up at meetings other than expressing their concern initially. I responded in the way that was asked of me in the first place. Nobody followed up with me. I did not see ongoing discussion in the newspaper anyways. And so it caught me by surprise when I just saw that it was approved. And that's why I'm here expressing my concern.
Okay.
If anybody would have asked me any time during the whole process, would I have been involved? Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the whole process, and I'm not saying anybody did anything illegal or anything else, but it was a very deceptive process, and I think other than people thinking that it's just my personal issue from having that in my backyard, other people in the neighborhood, in the vicinity, if you don't think that that affects property values, I would consider you wrong. I can't give anything definitive right now, but I'd be happy to look into it. Do I think that there's health effects that are problematic? Absolutely. I think it's a good deal for the city, potentially getting some income from this. But do I think that there's potential liability? I sure do. Both from the neighborhood and from firefighters that are exposed to this. If you just want to do an easy Google on this, or not Google, but internet search, just look up cell-based towers and firefighters.
Oh, I appreciate your
And then,
information.
yeah, and
Thank you.
I'm compiling other information. I would like to have it very well organized. I'd like to see drawings. I think that would be reasonable to see drawings that are to scale for this. I think that would be expected for a citizen that was asking for a variance, not to submit photos that are unrelated to one another, even though it says in there, do not put to scale. So I'm not sure why they would do that. I mean, that's a little deceptive. How they presented it, I'll show you the papers that I received initially. Today I went back and looked at them and had to use a magnifying glass to read them. And so it's a little concerning. I'm just asking that since it's been since 2017, once again, I want the best telecommunications in town here. But in a town our size, with some elevated areas and such, if somebody says that this is the only place in this town that a telecommunications tower could be located, that would be very hard to believe. If you had to have a relay station or something else to bounce it off of, absolutely. Not everything is direct line of sight. We know that, okay? But being able to not find another suitable place, when I talked to one of my Ward 3 representatives the other day, who's expressing concern that it has to be direct line of sight with the fire department. That doesn't have to be direct line of sight with the front door of the fire department. It would have to be to the antenna, okay? On the backside of public works, very, very far away from residential areas. That's in direct line of sight. There's a vacant lot, kitty corner, that's direct line of sight. Up on the hill, I walked up on the hill by the wind tower up there. And I understand, I was told by my ward representative that, well, that's BLM land. I would think that if we were in a huge fix and we could not find any other place in town to have a suitable tower that was safe for our community, I would be somewhat surprised if BLM wouldn't work on a provision to help our county and community. So,
Thank you.
We'll definitely have some discussions and we will be back in touch with you.
okay. Just so nobody calls my home phone and thinks that that's a good way to get a hold of me. That's still listed, but that's for emergencies, so nobody answers it. So I don't want somebody to say that they tried multiple times on my home phone and I did not respond, so that indicated lack of interest.
Okay.
If I can give my cell phone number to somebody, I'd be more than happy to,
Give it to
or people can reach me at the hospital.
You just ran.
So I didn't sign it initially. So just anywhere underneath it then or something?
That'd be perfect.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Steve, I got something to say.
Go ahead, Lori.
Members of the council, I have been asked by a few people about what happened with the trailer ordinance. I guess my answer was that we set up a committee to work with the trailers on the, not trailer, but recreational vehicles on the street. And they set up a committee, they came back with some recommendations. The council hasn't acted on those recommendations. Having said that, we discussed snow removal route around Rollins, which I think the staff did a fine job of putting that together. In conjunction to that, I would like to see this council, and I will, I'd like to see this council discuss the trailer ordinance. I think before the snowballs hit, I'll be presenting an ordinance to the council, probably the same ordinance that I presented the last time, which is not the best ordinance that I've ever seen, but it's an ordinance that says that RV parking can be on the streets from May till October 31st, which allows people with recreational vehicles to leave their mobile homes or their RV trailers on the street for 6 months out of the year. I think that's a very good compromise. This would help the street department when they're removing snow, when we're sweeping the streets. I think there are some safety issues involved in that. So I think it's something that we need to, as a council, address. We tried the committee thing and it didn't work. I think that we as a council have to go over it again and make a decision. I'll present the ordinance and I'd be more than happy to have any council member make changes on it if they like. If they don't like the ordinance, that's fine with me, but I think we owe it to the public to make a decision one way or the other where we stand on this issue.
Thank you, Lori. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, over the past couple of weeks, I've seen some statements made. My community relations, Myra, has notified me of some concerns about our streets. Walnut and Edward being the most talked about. I just wanted to take a minute and update this council and the public on where we're at with that. These two streets are top-notch priority for us. We actually did finalize the contracts for the engineering on these streets. Due to the size and scope of these streets, it is a little bit more of a complicated process because we are involving stormwater drainage and utilities as well. So there's an engineering process we have to go to. We're doing it this fall. I believe Daniela did start this week.
Yes,
Yesterday, when the engineers were actually first on site and beginning that process. The intention is to have that done before the winter hits. We'll have that engineering documentation. We'll be able to put our bid packets together with the intentions to drop shovel in the spring. Again, due to the size and scope of these projects, it does take a little longer and we couldn't get those done this summer. Additionally, these are 6-penny projects. I want to remind everybody that we did not bond in that process, so therefore we have to wait for the funds to come in. These are very expensive projects, but what I've been able to do when I'm in my finance office is rework some things, and we're going to be able to utilize our reserves for a portion of this without depleting all of our reserves. We're going to be able to move forward on these projects next summer, our spring. These streets cannot last 2 or 3 more years until those funds make it into the specific purpose tax account. We cannot last that long. So what I was able to do is make sure we have the reserves in place. We will be doing a general fund loan to the specific purpose tax fund. Once those funds come back, they will be reimbursed to the general fund. What that does is it allows us to utilize our funds, get the projects done right away on these two specifically because of how severe the situation is on these roads. It does not put us in financial peril in any sense. And it gets two of the worst projects we have done, and gets the citizens able to go down those roads a little safer. I just want to make sure the public knows those two are a top priority. Those two get mentioned all the time. I just wanted to make sure they knew where we were at in the process. Again, we're in the engineering phase. We'll be doing bids over the winter, and we're dropping shovels in the spring. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dustin.
Just-
Go ahead.
Dustin, can I ask you a question? What you're saying is you're gonna borrow money from the reserves to get these projects done and replace that money right back into the reserves, is that?
Yes, so, when we did not bond, what that did, what that made us.
I understand how that
Yeah.
works, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, so the general fund is basically fronting the money.
Right.
And when the monies come back in through the sales tax, they will be reimbursed to get that fully reimbursed to the general fund. So over the course of the entirety of this, the general fund will have a net zero. It will not affect the general fund in a negative way at all. All that is us fronting it with the general fund monies, which is legal. We will then replenish it when those funds come in.
Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Is there anybody else in the audience? I guess so. Yeah.
Honorable Mayor and Council, good evening. I'm gonna give you an update on the splash pad too. So, the city engineer Carl and I are just finishing putting the components, the final components of the bid package together. The wet utilities and demos all done, and we just had a few changes on the actual splash pad component that will go all together as one bid. And then hopefully by the end of this week, all those will go back to legal for final approval, and then we will go out to bid. Ultimately, this project should only take, we get everybody in line, we should be able to do it in 2 weeks. So we're still hoping we get everybody together. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. People are asking, still plugging away, and like I said, Amy should have it, or legal should hopefully have the whole package of all the different components by the end of the week.
Thank you.
And if you haven't done Safari in downtown yet, you still have a chance by tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And I invite the council down to Depot Park at 4 o'clock. We're going to be giving some giveaways and some cookies for being a tourist in your downtown, which is a statewide program that we're working with, and it's been kind of fun the last 5 days of sending people in the downtown and just being a tourist and enjoying what we have.
It's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak in public comment? Okay, we'll move on down to a proclamation that we have here. It's a proclamation recognizing American Wind Week, August 9th to the 15th, 2020, the benefits of wind energy as a renewable energy source and the importance of the major economic driver within the city of Rawlins, Carbon County, and state of Wyoming. Whereas wind energy is the largest provider of renewable energy in the country, and whereas the state of Wyoming is home to 22 wind projects and 2 wind-related manufacturing facilities, providing more than 500 jobs for Wyomingites. And whereas the wind energy is a major economic driver in towns and counties all across Wyoming, driving $3.3 billion in total capital investments to date and providing $11 million in annual lease payments to rural landowners in 2019. Now therefore, I, Stephen S. Nicholson, Mayor of the City of Rawlins, do hereby proclaim the week of August 9th through the 15th, 2020 as American Wind Week, and encourage all citizens to learn more about the benefits of wind energy in our community and celebrate Wyoming's leadership in renewable energy production. Now we'll move on down to the minutes, to approve the minutes of July 21st, 2020, regular meeting. Councilman Espinoza?
Mayor Nicholson, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of July 30th, 2020, at 1:30 p.m. Special meeting is presented.
Nope, that's the wrong one. It's the one right below it.
So, went right back, okay. Sorry about that. I'll make the motion to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of July 21st, 2020 as presented.
Okay, need a second? Councilman Wells seconds that. If there's any questions and concerns that that motion was made? If not, Sherry, would you open online for me, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Okay. Now if I get a motion for the minutes of July 30th, the special meeting? Councilman Smith?
I move to approve the minutes of July 30th, 2020, 1:30 p.m. special meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any objections to that motion that was made? If not, Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Okay, thank you. Now if we can get a motion to approve the special minutes on July 30th. Councilman Martinez?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 30th, 2020, special meeting.
Second.
Councilman Wells seconds that. Is there any objections to that motion that was made? If not, Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you, Sherry. Now we'll move on down to the approval of tonight's agenda. Councilman Martinez?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented if there's no corrections or additions.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any objections to that motion that was made? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Okay. Now we'll move on down to board appointments to approve Downtown Development Authority Main Street Advisory Board. Councilman Wells?
I move to appoint Stephanie Hugo to the DDA Main Street Advisory Board for the term ending December 31st, 2023.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is Stephanie in the room tonight? Would you like to come up here and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the board, please?
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Stephanie Hinkle. I am the Marketing and Communications and Foundation Director for Memorial Hospital of Carbon County. I am a Carbon County native. I grew up on a ranch south of Encampment and graduated from Encampment High School. So Carbon County is certainly home to me. I've been away for about 15 years and I came back almost 2 years ago. And came back to Rollins, and so it's been great to be back in Carbon County and have that sense of home again. Through my work with the hospital, certainly we're working hard to become more involved in the community on multiple levels. And last year with the opening of our family practice clinic on 3rd Street, that was something where I began to work with Pam at that point and have that business as part of the Rollins DDA. I feel strongly about economic development and playing that part it's such an important vital piece of our community. And so I'm excited to be able to work with that board and can help contribute to the work that's already in place. A little bit more of my background, I have, my education, I went to the University of Wyoming and I have a bachelor's in agricultural education and then a minor in economics. And so I hope that I can contribute again to the work that's already in place, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Stephanie. First and a second, any questions? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right. Congratulations, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on down to unfinished business. This is an ordinance, second reading, amendment of Rollins Municipal Code, Chapter 1, penalties for violations Culture. Get a motion, please. Councilman Martinez?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint, I'm on the wrong website. I make a motion that we adopt a municipal code chapter on penalties for violation of incarceration, second reading.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
You have a first and a second. Do we have some discussion?
Honorable Mayor, Council. First thing I want to do is thank County Attorney Davis for coming in. I want to say what she had to say is 100% accurate. She wasn't telling you a lie. Everything she said was 100% true. That does need to be a factor in this decision. I truly believe that. But there are more factors than just that one piece. Communication is key. I think we both need to be good neighbors here. So I would request this council postpone this vote for 2 weeks to the next meeting. To give me a chance to try to open those lines of communication, I've reached out to multiple members of the county with little avail to have a further discussion on this matter, to try to put this to bed. I feel this is not as complicated as matter as it's being made out to be. And I think just having some discussion, we can get this resolved, and hopefully I can come back to you in 2 weeks with a little more information, and we can make a more sound decision on this, and go from there.
Okay. Councilman Smith?
Yes, I have some questions, and I'd like to direct them to Ashley if I could. First of all, I want to acknowledge your help to the city for providing a judge for us when we needed it, so we appreciate your help in that area. I do believe that there's been some communication issues, and I think the issue isn't really how much we pay. And I would like very much for you to have the city manager, or city attorney, and police chief work with you on this matter, because I think my question really is, you are also LGLP, are you not?
Yes,
We are too. And I think that's where we're getting into a lot of our discussions, and we need to work that out. So with that said, I would urge you to work with us on that and go forward.
and Mayor Nicholson and Councilmember Smith. So specifically, we are both LGLP.
Right.
So changing the language on the MOU, because I think that's what you're referring to, right, is the MOU for incarceration. That is not a big deal. The town of Saratoga asked for the same change. We actually were waiting for some response from the city of Rollins to try to make one that's just consistent. You can send it to everybody, because this actually went out to 7 municipalities, if I remember correctly, at the same time. So we just wanted to update them all. Actually, every single one of those municipalities is represented by LGLP. So that's not a big deal. They're going to be on the hook, whether it's the sheriff's office, who is responsible for the person, or the city of Rollins. So that's easy.
The former MOU that we had, was it working? Except for the amount of remuneration that was asked for?
I actually think the language that LGLP does not like came from that original 1987 MOU, which is a good reason why we should not wait 30 years to redo MOUs, which is, yes.
And I think there's references made as to Title 18, and I think I would just urge the community or the committee to follow Section 18, Chapter 6, when you're reviewing all that, and I don't think we'll have any problems from that point, if I may say that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilman Martinez?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we amend my motion to postpone this ordinance for 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay, we have a first and a second to amend the first motion. Yeah, I'm okay with that, as long as if we spend the next 2 weeks diligently, getting together on both sides so we can try to get this resolved before the next council meeting, that'd be great.
Mayor Nicholson, I can certainly do that. The interim city manager, Ziebel, did reach out and wanted to meet and talk with me individually. And what I explained to him is ethically, I'm not able to do that without his attorney there, the city's attorney there. So we will work hard to try to figure out a time when everyone can meet.
Okay.
Is there anybody else that the town or the city council wants involved in that aside from Attorney Bach, the chief of police, and then Mr. Ziebel?
We would recommend a council member, whoever would like to sit on that, but we would like a council member present.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just have those three with the council member.
I could volunteer my time.
Well, there you go. So we'll have Councilwoman Wells sitting on that, in on that as well then.
We will reach out and try to get a meeting scheduled.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's no objections to that motion that was amended, we can open, go ahead, Sherry.
I missed who seconded the.
Amanda Smith. We can go ahead and open online voting, please. Yes.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on down to the approval of the payroll. Can I get a motion? Councilwoman Wells.
I move to approve the July 5th through 18th, 2020 payroll register of $240,000.19, or $19.13.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any objections to that motion that was made? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Thank you. Now we'll move on down to item B. It's a resolution supporting the creation of a dialysis treatment center. Can we get a motion on that? Councilman Martinez?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution supporting the creation of a dialysis treatment center.
Okay. Can we get a second? Councilwoman Smith? We have a first and a second. Any discussion or objections to that motion? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Thank you, Sherry. Now we'll move on down to item 10, executive session. We need a motion, Councilwoman Smith.
I move that we go into executive session at 8:19 p.m. pursuant to Wyoming Statute 164405. 2, to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness any or all of the witnesses in the matter being investigated. Following the hearing or executive session, the governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session. 3, on matters concerning litigation to which the governing body is a party, or proposed litigation to which the governing body may be a party. And 9, to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law.
Okay. We have a first and a second. If there's no discussions or objections, Sherry, could you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 6 yeas.
Okay, we're going to executive session at 8:20 p.m.
Yeah, that would be.
Yes, we can do that, Aaron. Thank you.